Today I fucked up by asking my parents for weed paraphernalia. So, this happened almost 7 years ago. Let me set the stage. It is the year 2013. In December, I will be turning 18. My parents ask me what I want for my birthday. I'm going to be an adult, I tell myself. I should ask for practical gifts. As a typical teenager, I love two things, birds and gardening. I ask my parents for a kitchen scale and an herb grinder. The scale I need to weigh my parrot, the herb grinder to grind the herbs in my garden. On my birthday, I get a cool digital scale and small black cylinder that calls itself a handheld herb grinder. It is shit at grinding my rosemary, but I don't want to seem ungrateful, so I don't ask for a receipt. I try many times, with a variety of herbs, but nothing turns out quite right. A few years later, I have a friend over. She sees the grinder in my cupboard and asks about it. Oh, I respond, that's an herb grinder my parents got me years ago. It doesn't really work though. In the ensuing conversation I learn, dude, that's for weed. Looking back, the chance that my parents, or at least my dad, didn't know what they bought me seems slim. Makes me wonder what they thought I was getting up to with a scale and an herb grinder. Maybe this year I'll ask for rolling papers. See if it phases them. Too long didn't read. Asked my parents for kitchen supplies for my birthday. Wound up with a cannabis grinder. Till a lot more families are into weed as a family than I thought. I rescue and rehab exotics and wildlife. I use a scale daily. Learned my ex's son was selling weed when I had to retrieve my scale more than once from his room. I mean, yeah, it was an awesome scale. But no high school student needs it daily for homework, dude. Be smarter. Stoichiometry my ass. No American kid is naturally good at that part of chemistry unless they've sold or regularly bought weed before. All the stoners in my class passed that unit with flying colors. LOL. My mom comes and gets my big scale on a regular basis when she's baking. Still have the same scale and I use it to weigh my bird and my baking ingredients. It's a good investment, whatever you use it for. My mom uses my old coffee grinder for her weed brownies. Stocking stuffers at Christmas include fancy pre-rolled joints, a variety pack of 3.5 gram containers of different strains. Edit, backstory. A number of years ago my grandmother got shingles and her doctor recommended cannabis but she didn't want to smoke it, so my mom got some medical grade high CBD stuff and baked her some cookies. We now call her Gateway Granny because there's been prolific amounts of edibles available ever since. Also it has since become legal for recreational use in Canada. My wife, who had never smoked it, ate like 3 cookies at a family function and it was hilarious. Welcome to the Autism Club. We have been waiting for you. Ha, thanks. I'm laughing because it took you a couple minutes to figure out that I was on the spectrum and over 20 years for anyone else, myself included. Today I fucked up by cleaning my nose hair trimmer. Okay, this happened last week and I finally have enough distance from it to write it down without retching. So, I'm a middle-aged dude. The age where your body decides growing hair on your head is outdated and it will instead focus on the oft-overlooked hair follicles on the inside of your ears and nose. I hate it. Who wouldn't? So about 5 years back I bought one of those nifty nose and ear hair trimmers with my remaining pride. It was the rotary blade kind, which will be important later. I have been diligent at fighting back the follicular onslaught, particularly from my schnoz, which is, shall we say, cavernous. The other night I was performing my evening ablations, complete with the latest battle in the nose hair war, when I started to wonder where all those hairs go when they stray into the rotary blade and are lopped off. My trimmer wasn't as spry as it used to be, so maybe it was a bit clogged. I grabbed the base of the business end of the trimmer and fiddled with it. Lo and behold, it twisted 1/4 turn and came off. Peeked inside, and although it was too dark to see much inside, it was clear that there were a few hairs down there. Gross. So I looked around for something to get in there and poke around with, but nothing would fit. Well, fuck it, thinks I, why don't I just give it a puff of air like a janky old school game cartridge? So, I do. If you've ever been unlucky and or stupid enough to put a ladle or serving spoon under a fast running faucet, and witnessed the visceral real-world consequences of Newton's third law, you know what comes next. 5 years of nose hair is a lot, particularly when it is all over your face. I had nose hair in my mouth, in my eyes, and irony of ironies, up my fucking nose. I inhaled and or ingested a non-zero amount of my own nasty nose lawn clippings. Too long didn't read, blew into my honker mower and got a nose hair facial. You get my upvote purely for honker mower, ha ha ha. Maybe you shouldn't have been nosy, eyes. As a dad, I am obligated to upvote this horrible pun. I am relieved it wasn't full of boogers and snot. Not sure why I thought that was where this story was headed, but boogers and snot was where my thoughts ended. Wanna trade? Imagined that small animals had been living in the cozy dark space and eating his hairs. What's grosser than your own 5-year-old facial hair? The bugs living off of it. You, sir, are a storyteller. Take your upvote. It was one of the grossest things that's ever happened to me, and I've raised 2 children. This will haunt me. I feel your pain. Foolishly did this with the groomer I used to keep my pubic hair trimmed and tidy. And into the eyes it went. 8/. Today I fucked up by masturbating while having a bath. Some history first. During the first lockdown in March I met someone on Strava. We're in the same running group and she left a nice comment on one of my runs. I did the same on hers, she followed me, I follow her back. The first months we were just encouraging each other on runs and on strength training. For the sake of this story I'll refer to her as Stravet. We switched to a different app to chat a bit more. This led to exchanging pictures to check form during lifting, which turned to body positivity and that evolved to sexting. That last part was a welcome distraction during these weird times, and a big motivation for me to keep up the hard work. Stravet had to quit running because of an injury but seemed to put her excess of energy into rating and masturbating. I have been skinny all my life, and I feel like body positivity for men as a whole is already rare. I've never had someone comment on my musculature in a positive way before. I also never had someone reward my personal fitness goals. We would talk about other things too, but over half of our conversation was erotic in nature. I was starting to feel it was getting a bit out of hand. I was putting in more time in getting off than in working out. Stravet continued to cheer on both my sports activities and my other bursts of energy. Then November came, and I didn't anymore. I decided to enter NNN. Stravet decided that this was not only a challenge for me to put up my best efforts, but also to put in her best efforts. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but she put up a reward system based on my effort. The more I achieved, the bigger the reward. Friday rolled in. I was pumped up, probably from not pumping, and she asked me to try to break my personal records that day instead of Monday. She said that either way, the reward was coming tonight, and a big announcement. I wanted that top reward, so I went all out. 10 miles. 4 personal records broken. My legs were busted, but I had a different type of busting on my mind. I decided to take a bath instead of a shower so I could lay down. The reward, a video, topped my expectations and it got out of hand. 4 weeks of anticipation, Stravet fulfilling a fantasy I had since I was 17, and cramped up legs made short work of my NNN resolve. And that's where the fuck-uppery began. Hot water and jizz form a unique combination. I guess that joke is not too far from the truth. What's the strongest glue known to man? Sperm. Have you ever seen a child fall apart? Combined with hairy legs, this makes for something I can only describe as Satan's idea of a wax job. I may have woken up an ancient demon with the curses I uttered the first time I janked on this devilish tallow set onto my body. I rushed to stand up away from this concoction. It may have been the 4 PRs in my legs or the 4 weeks of tension I had unloaded, but I wobbled and smashed my shin against the faucet. So that added a considerable amount of blood to the already unholy mix in my tub. I had to take a cold shower to rid it all, which caused my recently emptied balls to excruciatingly contract. But the worst cold shower was yet to come. Stravet had been typing a wall of text while I was wrestling with the aftermath of my transgression. The big announcement: Stravet is starting an OnlyFans. Never do something you're good at for free and the like. She says I can join, but prefer not to. as me paying for the service would make it weird and would confuse her feelings even more. Post-nut clarity hit like a ton of bricks. Too long didn't read, had the fastest 10-mile run of my life, came 4 weeks worth of abstinence in bathtub and gashed my shin on the faucet. Covered in Satan's wax, which is what you get when hot water meets jizz meets body hair. If you read this you probably don't care about the other details. Update: a fair few of people have pointed out that Strivette might still be into me. I've gathered the courage to message her asking if this really is the end of our understanding. I'll update if she replies. Her first response was an automated "You do not meet my requirements to chat," but I'm sure she'll read it. Thanks for the support guys. And for the awards, update 2 of Boogaloo, Strivette and I cleared a couple of things. 1. Strivette will no longer be sending nudes/rates for free. Likes and comments on Strava are still an option. 2. She thought starting an OnlyFans would be a deal breaker for me, so that's why she prefers to put an end to what we had going on. 3. She's not sure what she meant with the word feelings, and asked for some time to reflect. To be continued. Update 3. Strivette and I are going to call tomorrow to talk things through. She's hinted at not getting my hopes up, so don't hold your breath for a happy ending. Thanks again to anyone following this. Update 3. Strivette and I are going to call tomorrow to talk things through. She's hinted at not getting my hopes up, so don't hold your breath for a happy ending. Thanks again to anyone following this. Update 4. The old egg drop soup simulator tongue. What is Strivette's of page? Plot twist: this is all an elaborate scheme to advertise Strivette's OnlyFans. Maybe Op is selling his bath water too. Set up for a great love story toe. Did you tell her about the accident? No, I didn't really find a way to fit that in. She thought my lack of response was me letting her speak uninterrupted. For the record, I read the whole thing and the too long didn't read, probably because getting a summary of what I've already read satisfies me in ways that only a man in a bathtub swimming in his own jizz water can understand. We're swimming in the same waters on that one. I'm surprised it took you all these years to find this out. D. Before I moved into my current home, I hadn't taken a bath since I was 12, and since moving in I've probably been in bath 4 times tops. A lesson lived is a lesson learned though.